Hello, the goal of this video is to learn how to identify triads and seventh chords in root position. And what that means in root position, I will explain in a minute. But before we do that, let's review intervals of thirds. Intervals of thirds. An interval is the distance between two notes. And there are two thirds, minor thirds and major thirds. We can also have diminished and augmented, but we will only focus and we will only need minor thirds and major thirds for the most common types of triads and seventh chords. So minor third consists of three letter names or three lines and spaces on the staff, and three half steps, whereby a major third is three letter names and four half steps on the staff. So if we look at a keyboard, so we have a third, for example, from E to E. That's a third, involves three letter names, C, D, E. But from C to E, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, right? When we count half steps, we count from one to the next and so on. So from C is a major third, whereby from C to E flat would be a minor third. So E flat is a minor third. It involves three letter names still, C, D, and E, but from C to D flat is a half step, from D flat to D, and then from D to E flat. So that only has three half steps. So again, minor thirds have three half steps, major thirds have four half steps. Now, about triads. When we say root position, it simply means they're stacked up in thirds. We can also sort the pitches differently, but here, I will show this later again, but all the chords are stacked up in thirds, and they're notated here identically in both bass clef and treble clef. They're stacked up in thirds. That means they go from line to line to line, or from space to space to space, or in terms of, with regard to seventh chords, from line to line to line to line, or from space to space to space to space. So all of these are stacked up thirds, and it just depends on what thirds, whether they are major thirds or minor thirds, and in which order, is how we identify the types of triads. So for triads, there are so triads are two stacked up thirds. That means you have three notes, and the bottom two notes are stacked up in thirds, and the top two notes are stacked up in thirds. There are four types. There are major triads, minor triads, diminished triads, and augmented triads. The major triad consists of a major third on the bottom and a minor third on the top. For minor triads, it's reversed. The minor triad is on the bottom and the major triad is on the top. The diminished triad consists only of two minor thirds, and the augmented triad consists of two major thirds. So how does it look like? The major triad, C, E, G, or in bass clef, C, E, G. If we would play it on the keyboard, C, E, G. Now we already identified C earlier as a major third, and E to G is a minor third because it involves only three half steps, from F to F sharp, and F sharp to G. Only three half steps for the top third. That means that the bottom third, C to E, is a major third. The top third is a minor third. For the minor triad, it's reversed. The bottom is a minor third, and the top third is a major third. So, for example, C to E flat to G, C, E flat, G on the keyboard, C, E flat, G. From C to E flat is a minor third because we have three half steps, and from E flat to G, we have 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So minor triads have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on the top. Diminished triads only have 2 minor thirds. For example, C to E flat to G flat. So C, E flat, G flat. On the keyboard, C, E flat, G flat. C to E flat, 3 half steps. E flat to G flat, 3 half steps. And the augmented triad consists only of 2 major thirds. For example, C, E, G sharp. C, E, G sharp. C to E we identified earlier as a major third because it has 4 half steps. And from E to G sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps also. So now there is no way around to kind of memorizing or learning the structure of these triads. So I always remember them from bottom to top. So major triad, bottom third is major, top third is minor. For minor triad, it's reversed. Bottom third is minor, major, top third is major. Diminished, 2 minor thirds. Augmented triads, 2 major thirds. Now let us look at 7th chords in root position. That means we have 3 stacked up thirds. So we have 4 nodes which are stacked up as 3 thirds. And these are the 5 most common types of 7th chords. These are not all possible 7th chords, but the most common one in common practice music. And so we have another third on top of a triad, and we can have 3 possibilities. We can have 7th chords that are built on top of a major triad, a 7th chord that's built on top of a minor triad, and a 7th chord that's built on a diminished triad. Okay, let's talk about the major triad first. So what is highlighted here is a major triad. You have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on top of that. If you stack another third on top of that, that is a major third, and you get the major 7th chord. We call it major 7th chord, but technically it's a major 7th chord because you have a major triad and you have a major third on top of that, or between the root of this chord and the 7th, you have a major 7th. But if you take a major triad and you stack up another minor third, then you get a major minor 7th chord, major triad, minor 7th, or major triad, minor third on top of that. So how does that look like? Here in measure 6 and 7, on the bottom 3 notes, you have C, E, G. And C, E, G we identified earlier as a major triad. So we stack up another third in measure 6 here from G to B, from G to B is 4 half steps, so that's a major third. So we call this a major 7th chord, whereby if we take the C major triad and stack up a minor third on top of that from G to B flat, has 3 half steps, it's a minor third, then we get the major minor 7th chord, so abbreviated capital M, lowercase m, and then 7th chord, major minor 7th chord. Now, if we take a minor triad, minor third on the bottom, major third on top of that, and we stack another third on top of that, which is a minor third, then we get a minor 7th chord, technically a minor 7th chord. You have a minor triad on the bottom and a minor 7th, or minor triad on the bottom, minor third on top of that. So how does that look like? you have a minor triad, C, E flat, G, and then you stack another minor third on top of that, G to B flat. G to B flat is, as we identified earlier, a third with 3 half steps, so that's a minor third. So that's the minor 7th chord. And then we have 2 more that are built on the diminished triad. Diminished triad, again, is a triad that consists of 2 minor thirds. And if we stack a major third on top of that, then we call it a half diminished 7th chord. And if we stack up a minor third on top of it, we call it a fully diminished 7th chord. So half diminished, fully diminished. How do they look like? Here we have a diminished triad on the bottom, C, E flat, G flat, just like we identified here earlier as triads, C, E flat, G flat. And then from G flat to B flat, from G flat to B flat is a third with 4 half steps, is a major third. So that results in a half diminished 7th chord. But if we stack up another third from G flat to B double flat, from G flat to B double flat, again, remember we can go from B and lower it twice to B double flat. So from G flat to B double flat is a minor third because it only has 3 half steps. So those are these are the structures of the 7th chords, the 5 most common types of 7th chords, and you will simply have to remember them. But I think it's easiest to remember. You take a major triad, you have 2 possibilities of a 7th chord, a major 7th chord, so it has a major third on top of the major triad, and the minor 7th chord, the major minor 7th chord, it has a minor third on top of a major triad. The minor triad has a minor, the minor 7th chord has a minor triad on the bottom and a minor third stacked on top of that. And half diminished and fully diminished 7th chord has a diminished triad on the bottom, but then on top of that, a major third for the half diminished 7th chord or a minor third for the fully diminished 7th chord. So I will leave this sheet in the description of this video so you can use it as a reference. But now let us test of what we learned by looking at some other chords that are not built on C, as my examples were. So here we have a chord. It consists only of 3 notes. That means 2/3, which means it must be a triad. We have E, G sharp, B, E, G sharp, B. From E to G sharp is 4 half steps, so that's a major third on the bottom, and G sharp to B is 3 half steps, so that's a minor third on top of that, which makes this a major triad. Number 29 is a major triad. Number 30, here we have obviously 4 notes, so it's a 7th chord. We have D, F, A, C, all natural, D, F, A, C, D, F, A, C. Now D, F, A is the triad, so D to F is a minor third, F to A is a major third because it has 4 half steps. So we have a minor triad on the bottom, and then from A to C, we have another minor third stacked up. So minor triad plus minor third on top of that is a minor 7th chord. Number 31, F, A flat, C. F, A flat, C. From F to A flat, we have 3 half steps. From A flat to C, we have 4 half steps. So major third on top. Bottom is a minor third. Top is a major third, which makes this a minor triad. Number 32, a 7th chord. F, A, C, E flat. F, A, C, E flat. F, A, C is a major triad. From F to A, the major third. A to C is a minor third. And then from C to E flat is a minor third, 3 half steps on top of a major triad. So that makes this a major minor 7th chord, also called a dominant 7th chord. Number 33, a triad from E flat to G to B. E flat to G to B. E flat to G, 4 half steps. G to B, 4 half steps, 2 major thirds, which makes number 33 here an augmented triad that has 2 major thirds. Augmented triad. Number 34, B, D, F, A. B, D, F, A. So the triad B, D, F consists of 2 thirds that are minor thirds. It has 3 half steps on the bottom, and then D to F, also 3 half steps. So that's a diminished triad on the bottom. And then from F to A, it has 4 half steps. So that's a major third on top of a diminished triad. So D, F, B, D, F, A must be a half diminished 7th chord. And finally, D, F sharp, A, C sharp. D, F sharp, A, C sharp. Now, D, F sharp, A is a major triad because from D to F sharp is a major third with 4 half steps. F sharp to A, a minor third with 3 half steps. And from A to C sharp, another major third stacked on top of a major triad, which makes number 35 a major 7th chord, also called a major 7th chord. All right, I hope you found this video helpful in identifying triads and 7th chords when they're in root position. And root position again means when they're stacked up in thirds. We could also invert them, but that is not the concern of this particular video. I will make another video about that. So leave me some comments in the comment section. And if you want to request another video, just leave that in the comments as well. Good luck with your studies, and check out some other videos. Bye.